So, Kevin Mambo, where were you born?
Harare, Zimbabwe.
And what does it mean to be from Africa?
It's part of my fabric. It's part of my, identity. It's an invaluable component of myself that you can't make it up as you go along. It's something that's a part of you or it isn't.
What are your parents' names?
My mother's name is, her first name is Anna, her middle name is Tsitsi, which means mercy, or to be compassionate. And my father's name is Nobi, and his middle name is Chipo.
And what did they do when you were back in Africa?
My mother is a registered nurse. She was also a midwife for many years and studied midwifery in Scotland. And my father is a forensic pathologist.
And then your family left Zimbabwe. How old were you?
I was very, very young.
Where did the family move to?
We moved first to Toronto, then Texas, then back to Toronto. We ended up back home for a little while, and then ended up, I spent most of my childhood upbringing in Saskatoon, which is in Western Canada.
How did you deal with the cold or?
It's one of those things you deal with when you are forced to deal with it. If someone asks you if you want to spend time in 20 below weather, you'd say no. But, I speak to my mother about that, and there were times when I would come home. I went to college in California.
Where it's nice and sunny.
All year round. So I would come home on vacation and just be locked in the house asking my mother, how did we do this when we were kids? And she would say all the time, when you're kids, you're not thinking about how cold it is. You want to be out, skating or building snowmen or forts or snowball fights, whatever, tobogganing, sledding. She goes, the last thing you're actually thinking about is how cold it is.
And is that what you remember? Are those your earliest childhood memories of playing in the snow?
Being outside, playing in the snow, playing with my friends, school, being in the band room. We spent a lot of time in the church growing up as well.
Was it pretty diverse where you grew up, the neighborhood in your school?
Very diverse, very diverse. I mean, I had friends from everywhere, of every kind. I mean, even in our own house, between my brother's friends and I, it was Indian kids, Pakistani kids, the Jamaicans, the Africans, a couple of Chinese guys, a couple of Irish dudes, some French people. We really had a very, very diverse childhood, which I think is fantastic. Yeah.
What's your happiest memory from childhood?
Being home on the weekends, playing instruments, borrowing the soprano sax from school and sitting out on my back porch and playing from like a Friday to Sunday. I really had a good and pretty well insulated growing up. I had good friends, and I spent a lot of time with friends playing and studying jazz, in early years of high school.
Wow. What were your dreams as a boy?
Well, I was, and still am, the biggest Prince fan of all time. Mm-hmm. So, of course, I had rock star dreams, singing in the mirror, holding their combs, that kind of stuff.
So your parents are no longer together?
No, my father lives in Texas, my mother lives in Canada.
What do they do now?
My mother is pretty much retired. My father is still living between autopsies and golf.
And do you have a good relationship with both of them?
Yes.
How old were you when they divorced?
They separated when I was 7 or 8, and then they finally divorced when I was about 12, 13.
And that's like a crucial age. How did it affect you?
I thought that it was better than having to be constantly at loggerheads and in strife. So right. I think in terms of the process of separation was probably harder on me than an actual clean break.
And you realized that at that young age, that's for the best.
Yeah, I mean, I felt a great sense of relief at the time. I remember feeling relieved when my mother saying, your father and I are getting a divorce. And I said, pass the marmalade. It was breakfast, and I just kind of was plowing through it the rest of my day, but it was a relief.
What's the most important thing your parents taught you?
My parents were very, very big on education. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably the lesson I take away from them the most.
How old were you when you moved to the US?
19.
Right. So you've had your adult life growth
here.
here in America. So tell me, do you think of yourself as an African, an American, or Canadian?
I think my identity is African Canadian, but I've been living here for a long time, and I've been through so many sort of pivotal moments. A couple of earthquakes in California. I was going to school in LA during the LA riots. I was raised in North America in an African household, so it was a very unique perspective and very unique upbringing.